Happy New Year. Welcome to week 8 of our health and wellness videos here. Today we are going to be covering our final dimension of our health and wellness that we have not covered yet out of the 7. So we've gone over all of the other ones, and today we are going to talk a little bit about our occupational health and wellness and what that means. It's going to be different for everyone as well. And I hope that you've been learning from the other ones and have been able to improve your lifestyle in those other dimensions a little bit as we've gone through. This one actually comes at a convenient time because often with the holidays, a lot of us have a little bit more vacation time, right? Maybe not for everyone, but I hope that you're able to have a little bit of time off for yourself, and maybe in having that time off, you realized that you needed it. And it did you well, and I hope that you're able to make the most out of your time off that you had. And this week, a lot of people are back to work, or maybe you have a little bit more time off. That's great, but most people are back to work and getting back into the grind and into the groove of things. So let's jump into it. When we talk about occupational health, what I mean is a personal satisfaction and enrichment that is derived from one's work. And when I talk about work right now, I'm not talking about what you do in your downtime for fun. I'm talking about what at the end of the day pays your bills, it puts food on the table, right? Pays for all of those things that you need, things that you want, right? So for most people, I mean, I'm not saying that you need to jump out of bed in the morning and like, yes, I get to go to work. If that's you, that's awesome, good for you. You definitely found a good career, good job for you, and your occupational health is probably thriving. Most people aren't that enthusiastic, but you do want to find that balance of enthusiasm where you don't want to have to get out of bed and feel like you're already dreading the day. Your day is just dragging along, right? You just like can't stand being at work. If you feel like that's you, it might be time to do a little bit of reflection and see kind of what choices brought you down that path into that job or that career that you're in right now. If it's super dreadful and not something that you're enjoying, you're losing energy from it, right? At the end of the day, you want to be able to go home and feel, satisfied in the work that you did, feel productive, feel good, and not be zero energy after work, right? You still want to have a little bit of energy either before or after work to have some time for you and have that downtime. So if you do feel, like you're stuck in whatever job or career that you're in, it's important that you talk to someone about it, right? You can talk to a career counselor about it, or even a friend. It might even be beneficial just to bounce those ideas off of a friend. They know you really well, they know your interests, and they might have an idea for what path you could go down to try something new that you might have not thought about. So it's super important that in your job, in your career, you're feeling inspired and you're feeling challenged, right? So you might be doing something right now that you really do enjoy genuinely. It's your intrinsic passion, and that's what you want to do for the rest of your life, but you haven't been feeling inspired or challenged, right? So it might just mean that you've reached a point where you've grown quite a bit and you know it like the back of your hand, right? Like you're good at your job, and if you feel like you're lacking in that inspiration side of things, it might be time to add more challenge, right? So you can always do that. You can always continue learning, right? And if you get into that stump of you're comfortable, you're doing your job day in, day out, you might get to a point where it just feels tedious and you don't want to lose your passion for what you're doing. So try something new, right? So within your field, whatever it is that you enjoy doing, you can take a course to ramp up your knowledge in that area, or take on a role with more responsibilities. I've been looking into that. So make sure that you're feeling inspired and feeling challenged in the work that you're doing. You're creating connections. A lot of good careers and jobs come from those connections, right? There's that saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And those connections can lead to a lot of transferable things, right? So it's better to develop functional, like transferable skills in structured, let me get my words together here, structured involvement opportunities than it is to not be involved at all, right? So what I mean by that, I'll explain here, is, for instance, I will use me as an example. I would not be here doing training, right? Developing these exercise programs for some of you and other people if I didn't have experiences in other places, right? So if I worked in other places where I developed a lot of skills in this area. So I wouldn't have been able to just jump right in here before developing those skills. So it's important that if there's something you want to do and you're not quite there, you can't jump into it yet, look into what you can do as an alternative to develop those skills that's transferable over to what you want to do, and it's going to create that bridge for you in the future to get you there, right? And it's better to do that than nothing at all. So that's just something to think about there. And at the end of the day, if you have a career that is something you're passionate about, that is your way that you are going to convey your values, right, and your beliefs through your involvement in that area that brings you that's gratifying experience for you, right? So at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're enjoying what you do, and it can take a big toll on other parts of your health and wellness in those dimensions if you're not paying attention to that. And just like I spoke about in one of my other videos here about finding that balance between leisure and work time, right? So for some of us, you might have had time off during the holidays and realize that you don't usually do that, and it might have done you really well. So make sure that going forward, if you realize that you are one of those people who tends to work, and not take that time off, that you're paying attention to that and being mindful of how rewarding it was and how beneficial it was for your body and for your mind to have that time off, right? So it's important to take that you time. So occupational health is important. It's important to pay attention to your career, but it's just as important to pay attention to how much leisure time you are taking, because a lot of people actually don't take a lot of leisure time. So make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And on the flip side of that, if you do have a lot of leisure time, what are you doing with that time, right? So are you challenging yourself, right? Building those transferable skills to grow your knowledge in the area that you're interested in. So that's all I have for you on occupational health. It's just a general basis of it, superficial level of that. We have 4 more weeks together, so we're going to go over some tidbits a little bit deeper into each dimension. Talk a little bit about stress in the coming weeks and how you can self-assess your dimensions of health and where you might need to improve on paper, if that's an easier way to kind of see it, to visualize it, right? To know what you need to work on. That's all. Have a great day, and I'll see you next week.